All right, here we are back doing our fourth trailer. This is part 4 of episode 9. Final trailer of the night. We are going over the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. We just rewatched it. This is I think this is the second trailer. First trailer did not do a lot for me. That was released months ago, a long time ago. That might have even been released at San Diego Comic-Con, and I don't think we had seen anything since. This movie's had some production issues. This movie's been delayed multiple times. Pushed back, but we are finally getting this film over the summer.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I think it's got a little bit to worry about, only because I think the X-Men Last Stand was
the story.
Yeah, Jean
was
Grey.
Essentially the storyline.
It's the same storyline. It's Jean Grey becoming just too powerful for herself.
Right.
It's the Dark Phoenix saga.
Unfortunately, Last Stand was not done very well.
Yeah,
those original 3 X-Men films, that was definitely the weakest of the 3.
Yeah, the first one I thought was really good. The second one I think was flawless. It's just such a good movie.
X2 is fantastic.
Yeah, X2 X-Men United is one of the
That's one of the best. All-around X-Men films, period.
Yeah, and X-Men 3 Last Stand was, in my it really and it's a shame. It just wasn't that good. I think it wasn't as bad as like X-Men Apocalypse, that's for sure.
And that's what's so sad, is because you had the X-Men First Class, which I thought was great.
Yes,
that was
so
really
good. Once the original X-Men franchise kind of
once it died down a little bit,
they went back to the First Class, and in First Class, actually, I think was really good.
I thought that's one of my favorites in the entire X-Men franchise. And then you had Days of Future Past, which again
was that the second one?
That was the second one.
Okay,
which
Days of Future Past was really
which was, I thought, really good. Yeah. Heavily features Wolverine in this, and of course Mystique and Magneto and Charles.
And then you had
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, which I think was a
letdown.
Step. I think it's by far the worst of all the X-Men.
And what's terrible is in Apocalypse is we start to get Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler coming in, and it just was not. It was not done that well. It really wasn't. I was not a huge fan of the storyline. We even get Psylocke in the movie, and Archangel, but unfortunately, again, these roles are kind of wasted because we're not going to see them again, unfortunately.
Yeah, and now you have which is probably the last movie in that franchise. You're going to go out with a bang, and and they have a lot to live up to, because they're going to go out with in my opinion, the single best storyline in the history of the X-Men, and that is the Dark Phoenix saga, which was a storyline in the comic books from I think the very late 70s and the early 80s. It was during the legendary run of when John Byrne was drawing the X-Men, inked by Terry Austin and written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont, wrote the X-Men for
years, right?
20 years. Yeah. But that run with John Byrne produced so many great storylines. You had the introduction of the Dazzler, you had the introduction of Alpha Flight, you had Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past was in there.
Yep.
That was a 2-part story, right?
It was a 2 issues.
Two
issues. Yeah. Yep. X-Men
141
and 142.
It's gone down as one of the best stories.
Oh, without a doubt. And that was actually post Dark Phoenix saga. The Dark Phoenix saga, they introduced the Hellfire Club and the White Queen, and basically. So what happened in the comics, Jean Grey has been around since the 60s. Right. She was Marvel. She was part of the original X-Men. When the new X-Men came out in 1975, she kind of stuck around with Cyclops. And then you had, the new X-Men, which was, Nightcrawler and Wolverine and Colossus and Storm, And then that was X-Men number 9, Giant Size X-Men number 1 was in the new X-Men came out. And then you had X-Men 94. And in X-Men issue 101, Jean Grey becomes Phoenix. And basically it's a scenario where she's piloting a space shuttle, and she's going to get exposed. Someone has to pilot the space shuttle or they're all going to die. And in doing so, she is going to get exposed to a lethal amount of radiation. And what happens is she is, they think she's dead. And, the space shuttle crashes into the I think whatever that bay is just south of Kennedy Airport, and she rises out of the water as the Phoenix reborn. And what you kind of find out is that she is actually approached by a cosmic being, sensing her dismay and her love and all that, and kind of like empowers her to live.
It's like basically within her, right?
Yeah, and it gets a little tricky with the comic books because the entire time in the comic book when she's the Phoenix, you actually think that it's Jean Grey, but it turns out because because at the end of the Dark Phoenix saga, in the comic books, Jean Grey dies. Right. She actually winds up taking her own life before she succumbs to the dark side so much. And it is one of the. It's just an unbelievably great storyline because this is like Jean Grey was a very much beloved character, and she becomes too powerful for her own good, and she can't control it, and she knows she can't control it, and she ends her life before she finally knows that she's going to give into the dark side, and she will become and when she becomes Dark Phoenix, she's got power that almost rivals Galactus. I think Galactus would still win, but she's like her power level is off the scale. Like she can literally destroy planets. And that's what happens. She in the comic book she actually wipes out an entire planet. She goes, she opens up a time, like a space warp, goes to the other side of the galaxy, whatever, and just kills a whole planet full of people. And it was interesting with the debate that they were having at Marvel Comics at the time between the Chris Claremont and the editor, who was Jim Shooter at the time. And the story that you've always heard is that they want to keep her around. And Jim Shooter, the story goes that Jim Shooter basically says, she killed the planet of the broccoli head people because these people always have broccoli heads. She killed the broccoli people. A couple billion people. And they're like, she's got to pay for that, and so she is killed. But in true Marvel fashion, nobody ever dies.
No.
Within a couple of years, Jean Grey comes back because what you find out is that in that space shuttle flight, she did absorb a lethal dose of radiation, and the Phoenix Force came down and basically sealed her body in a pod where her body would heal in like almost suspended animation. And while she was down at the bottom of the ocean, the Phoenix Force took on the form and construct of Jean Grey, but to the point where it thought it was Jean Grey, but it housed the power of the Phoenix Force. And basically it was just one of these things where no human being would be able to control that much power. So this entity thought it was human and just couldn't handle that, and eventually gave into the dark side. Not through her own hand. It was the problem in the comic books. It was Mastermind, Jason Wingard, who was like an illusionist that kind of got into her head, and whatever controls that Xavier was kind of putting in place to like kind of keep her powers in check.
Right.
Jason Wingard as Mastermind was incidentally undermining that. And it kind of played on her psychological fears and stuff, and it just kind of shattered her. Whatever strength she had, it kind of just broke everything down, and then it let the dark side of the Phoenix Force kind of rise up and take over.
Well, I think we're definitely seeing that with Jessica Chastain's character, because she seems to be the driving force to push her towards that dark side.
Yeah, and being that she had white hair, I'm not sure if she is the White Queen supposed to be. I don't think so. Or if she was maybe the manifestation of the Phoenix Force that Jean Grey sees. I'm not sure. I actually want to look at if there's if there's any cast in IMDb to see.
They might be holding out until the film's actually released, so they could be actually holding the identity.
So it is actually it's a great storyline, and if they do it right, it has the potential to be fantastic.
Well, to me, it's got to be all about emotion, and and this trailer shows some of that. Unfortunately, this trailer I think shows a little bit too much. And the biggest thing
Well,
about
that
this
usually
trailer,
is a problem with trailers these days.
unfortunately, well, one, the trailer might even be a little bit too long. I'm sorry, anything over 2 minutes to me is a long trailer. You don't need to show anything more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that the trailers for Captain Marvel kind of I think the trailer for Captain Marvel gave too much away. It showed you like the best things. You know, it's like, oh, when you see a trailer, it's like, oh my God, this is what they're showing us. I can't wait to see what else there is. Right. When you put all the best things in the trailer, that to me is a letdown. Well, you're doing a disservice to the movie going community.
No, you watch this. You watch the final trailer. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is the final trailer, but this is the second trailer. So if you watch,
there's probably going to be more.
I think there's probably going to be one more trailer.
Because when is this supposed to come out?
This comes out. Oh, is it June or July?
But it is 2019.
July of this year, yeah. But you think you get this shot of Mystique going up to Jean Grey, and again, see, this is where there's some similarities to The Last Stand, because there's a scene. It looks like in a suburban neighborhood. Jean Grey comes out, and there's a bunch of the X-Men kind of in the street talking, trying to talk her down. That was very similar to The Last Stand, but instead it was Wolverine who was with Charles and I think Magneto. They were all together. So this, I mean, different characters, but to me it looks like a very similar situation. And it pretty much looks like Jean kills Mystique very early on. And then there's the scene, and then Jean starts talking to herself like, she was my friend, why did I do that? Again, looks to me like it's confirming it. And then at some point you see Beast in a suit, obviously at a funeral, very upset. He was in love with Mystique. So again, it's really shaping up that this Mystique is killed in this film.
Well, yeah, I mean, another thing, like the Jean Grey in the movie is already pretty tough.
Yes. So you saw a little bit of this, and even at the end of Apocalypse, when she stands up to Apocalypse and she's helping out Xavier in his mind, you see a little bit of that almost Phoenix Force. So again, it's almost like the Phoenix is already within her.
Yeah, and exactly. Like it easily could, they take a lot of liberties with a lot of these comic books. They use a lot of with the comic book movies. They take a lot of characters and they, do what they want. I mean, like, the Juggernaut in the X-Men movies is a completely different character than the Juggernaut in the comic books.
Well, the Juggernaut in The Last Stand was terrible.
Yeah.
The Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah. But both of them are completely different characters from and that's okay.
Like you're gonna have that happen.
No one's gonna follow these things as canon. So I mean, exactly how it happened, back in the 70s and 80s. They're gonna do it a little different, and that's understandable because they got to do what they got to do. Incidentally, there was a very interesting, so DC has Elseworlds. Marvel Comics had a series called What If, things that happened, these were alternate universes. And there was a very kind of disturbing What If issue, but basically has, what if, Dark Phoenix, didn't die? What if the Phoenix didn't die? And the thing is, she's in check for a while and then something happens and she winds up like killing everybody. I mean, she just kills everybody, so it's a pretty, she has the ability not just to kill everybody, but she could, if she's as powerful in this movie as she is in the comic books, she can destroy the whole planet. She really could. So the stakes are very high.
It seems like there's going to be an emotional component between her and then at some point it looks like Cyclops. There's a scene in the trailer where it just seems like there's a lot of fire and destruction, and you see Jean and then you see Cyclops and he's shouting out to her. So I'm wondering, is he going to be the one to stop her, or is he going to be the one to kind of like bring her back to the point where she does end up taking her life, like realizing, oh my God, like what am I doing? It doesn't seem like it's going to be Charles.
Yeah, because ultimately they don't want to kill her, but that was always the emotional.
You already see it in the trailer. Magneto wants to end her.
Right.
You can see it, like she's got to go, and then and then Cyclops.
And that's how it was in the comics. There were people saying she is a threat. She is a threat. As much as we love her, she's got to die because if we don't, she has the potential to kill everybody. And then there's always the people that sit there and say, she's our friend. We want to save her. Yeah. And I think it does look like she's really tough. And they had the scene where Cyclops goes to Charles and said in the trailer, where Cyclops says, what can we do to fix this? And he's like, I don't know. And you look at their faces and it's like, they know they're in a pickle. Yeah. They love Jean, but she is
She's
really
so
tough,
powerful. Yeah.
and she is really dangerous, and it pulls on the emotional, and that was a key component of the comics.
I think if they can land
and that's what
that,
made the story so great. It was what do you do? This is a beloved character that potentially should have to die.
if they
but
can,
you don't want
if
to.
they can land the emotional struggle with the characters in this, I think they can present a decent film.
Right, and I think that's what they didn't do in The Last Stand.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely, 100%. Because that's
So
why, like, you didn't care.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that they figured out a way to do this story again, and and
Hopefully
do it
get
right.
it right.
Because if you do it right, it could be one of the best X-Men movies ever.
I mean, this trailer definitely got me more excited than the previous one. After Apocalypse, I was not looking forward to seeing the next X-Men film. No Hugh Jackman. I love Hugh as Wolverine, but unfortunately we're not going to really see him anymore.
Well, but I remember you telling me that there was a lot of problems with the production with this film, whether it was the scripts and everything, and it really got to the point where, like, I was hearing that for a while. And sometimes movies have so many problems they don't get made. It's like they just pull the plug on.
Like, I don't know if it was at that point, but it was definitely shaky ground for a while, and especially because I think they went back and they did a ton of reshoots.
Yeah, and that's not a good sign.
They had a first run, and I guess whatever if the executives at Fox were looking at this thing and were like, we are not pleased with this, and they ended up having to go back and reshoot a bunch of the film. I don't know how much, but obviously it delayed it long enough where they had to push this movie date back not once but twice.
Yeah.
So to me, that rings of some trouble. But hopefully they got at least part of it right. Like I said, if they can get the emotional component down, I think that definitely helps with this film.
Yeah, because it becomes a problem when they have to do all the reshoots, because that could go one of two ways. Obviously, it's like okay, they realize they're doing it wrong, so let's just wipe the slate clean and salvage what we can and do it over. And if they do it right, it's great. But sometimes it just becomes just a choppy piecemeal production where it's like they're at the point where they gotta do something. So they wind up keeping these scenes from the beginning and then these reshoot scenes, and then all of a sudden it becomes a collage.
Absolutely.
And it could very well be a disjointed movie where you sit there and say, like, it's really kind of old.
I hope not. I mean, they have some really good actors in this. I love Jessica Chastain, so
I'm interested. I was very excited to see her in it because I think she's a great actress.
I'm gonna go see this film. Obviously, I do enjoy the X-Men. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this. Obviously, Fox being their last X-Men film before these guys all transition back to Marvel.
Right, where they get to do everything all over.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, that's actually very interesting because it would not be far-fetched for Dark Phoenix
to possibly
to be a super major villain that everybody rallies against down the line. Because if the X-Men are coming in fresh into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they get to do everything all over again.
Right.
So I mean, everything is up for grabs. They're going to do their own versions of Xavier and Wolverine and Magneto and Jean Grey, and you know what? They can do their own version of Dark Phoenix, and I guarantee you, if they do it, it'll probably be better than Last Stand and even this one.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
They can do that.
It'll be interesting to see how they wrap all this up with all these characters from this next generation of X-Men.
And who's the guy who plays Magneto? Sorry, Magneto.
Please say it right. Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender. I love Michael Fassbender.
He's been great as Magneto. I've loved him. I've even liked McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
Yeah. I've liked
him
I
like him as Xavier.
It's really weird. Like, I can't tell in this trailer if he actually shaved his head or if he's wearing a cap. I can't wait to actually watch the movie to really see that. But in the trailer, it almost looked like he was wearing a cap. I don't know. I would think he's an actor who's a method guy, so I would think he would shave his head. But I guess we'll see more when this movie comes out.
Yeah,
so we got a couple months.
I always grew up calling Magneto, and I still think it just sounds so much better.
You still do it anyway.
Magneto just sounds
even if
like
the correct way to say it, but you say it your way.
Magneto sounds cool. Magneto.
It's not a magnet.
You put an O at the end of magnet, you get Magneto. Anyhow.
But I think
So.
I think it's going to do it for our last trailer of the night.
Yeah, so there's we did 4 trailers for 4 movies coming up soon that I think are going to be really good, and we'll definitely have more to say about these films after they come out, because I'm pretty sure we're going to do.
We'll be doing reviews of each and every one of these.
Each and every one of them.
So get ready for that. I mean, we're going to be pretty busy once April hits.
Yeah.
Because it's like week after week, you got movies coming out. So.
Yep, and they're going to be fun. A lot of fun superhero franchise type films, which is that's
And just other franchises in general that are going to be coming out. So look forward to those guys. So please, again, like, share, comment, subscribe, do what you can. Try to get the word out that we're doing what we can here. Hopefully, you guys, you are enjoying this.
Yeah, we're getting more subscribers, and we're getting a lot of views. So hopefully, more people tell more people.
Hopefully we got some good word of mouth.
Not just we're hoping it's not just our friends and family at this point. But we actually have a lot of friends and a lot of family. So I would like to think that maybe our friends and family maybe are telling their friends.
Maybe branching out a little bit.
Branching out a little bit. We'll see. Where our next episode will be our first, where we'll be in double digits.
Double digits. Right.
The next milestone will be triple digits.
But hopefully you guys enjoy all this stuff. Please comment and let us know what you guys think. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for watching.
Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Cheers.
Cheers.